I have 672 laid and pulled testimonials for Daygame, and my students do not get flaked on if they rehearsed it with drills, so they don't need to learn text game. 55% of your communications is nonverbal, 38% is the elite tonality mastery training, only 7% is words. Tall, white, or black daygamers are obsessed with the 7%. My low SMV students needs to focus on the 93%. No, it's not like the foundation and the building material. Then the last 7% is the door or windows. No, that is not true. That's only the drapes. It doesn't matter for those who doesn't have privilege.
Daygame, dealing with flakes. Hey, do you know that it's not about more game that reduces flakes or a bigger numbers game? I know it sounds crazy because we're used to hearing about direct compliments and using more mystery method style game techniques and RSD mass approaching that will stop all the flaking, but it actually gives you 10 times the flakes. And while you may think that's important to have tactics and strategy, I'm going to share with you 3 secrets with you today, and that's going to revolutionize the way you understand how Daygame really works for female nature in terms of flaking. I'm John Elite, the world's best Daygame coach. 666 laid and pulled testimonials for Daygame. So it's quite a lot. What is burning a DVD concept? I don't have a DVD. I only got like a Blu-ray. So I found The Dark Knight, right? Here's Heath Ledger, right? But a lot of things about female nature, it's exactly a lot like a DVD. So what is burning a DVD concept? Even if Gen Z has no idea what a DVD is, they might not know what a Blu-ray is. When talking with a woman, right? And it's scored out of 35 points. She's constantly burning the DVD score for your value and skills. So for example, every time she's looking at your looks, now she's burning it in here as a spinning, a pattern. Your looks is out of 10 as it keeps burning the laser in there as you're talking with her. Money is out of 5. She looks up and down. She can assess your value by the way you dress. Are you whitewash husband material? And then also status, your natural status, your ethnicity is always being burnt right in the very beginning of the disc. So the beam is burning everything in the beginning. So it's already scoring, because when you start speaking with women, have you noticed for some of you, not all of you, they start to look up and down like this, and then she stays there. You wonder, why is she acting like that? She's seeing friend or foe, enemy or friend. She doesn't know. And also your social skills. If you just keep making statements, it's a Blu-ray, but actually for Gen Z, they have no idea what I'm talking about. The social skills will be low score. If you make a statement, you look like XYZ, and then she gives a short answer. And then you say, oh, are you XYZ? You ask another question. You get another short answer. Now the score is 0 or 0.5, which is really low. That's bad. So you want to make sure that when you're burning DVD for your body language, if you're squaring off like most of the pickup artists who's going direct, there's also burning a low DVD. So already you have like very low score, maybe 0.5. You got 1 score for total for skills. Your emotional control, especially during this inflation. If your voice sounds very like depressed at the end of the sentence, you sound very lethargic. She's going to think you're very depressed. When she thinks you're very depressed and she's burning that in a DVD, that's like minus 2.5. So that 1 point that you got, now it's gone. And lastly, game. These are the mystery method tactics. And you're burning all these game tactics. My students don't need game that much. The only game they need is maneuver, like insta dates, venue changes, pulling her home, and then sexualizing it to the maximum at some point, to the max, get sexual objections out. Maneuver, sexualize, objections looping. It's simple. That's the game you need. If she talks more, you flirt more. It takes training. When they burn a DVD, their game is push pulls, sexualizing it, DHV stories, direct compliments, low score. That's not what you want. When everything is burned, looks out of 10, money out of 5, status out of 10, social skills, 2.5 points, social calibration, 2.5 points, emotional control, 2.5. But emotional control can be minus 2.5 points. This is the only category you can burn when you're burning these things. Social skills, social calibrations, emotional control. She's going to remember it subconsciously. So if you get 20 out of 35, you don't even need to go on a date. You're going to get laid that very day. It's easier to pull her home. Maneuver, sexualize, objections, looping. But you need points in the right area to get that date. Since my students, when they level up, they don't get flakes or ghosting. You're like, whoa, that's impossible. So older guys, right? if they don't have my training, because they're not burning the right DVD, they'll be very depressed in their voice and they don't believe in themselves. They probably will not do very well. However, for my students, they'll do very well. So if you want like a 20-year-old, I can get you that easily. I can get you anything as long as you do your homework. So anyways, what happens when you text her after you talk with her for the interactions? You text her. So you'll be like grabbing your phone, and I have one of these foldable phones. You're like, what the fuck? Yeah, my phone folds. So let's say you text her, right? Cool to meet you. When you text her, what does she do with a DVD? She grabs a DVD out of her brain like this. Oh, and then look at your name. So if your name was, let's just say your name was Mike, right? Mr. M, your name is not, let's just say your name was Mike. So she's going to see the word M-I-K-E. Oh, this is who we're talking to, Mike. Now she's going to put the disc right into her brain. And it's going to start spinning like this. And then she's going to read the disc. And she'll remember everything about you when she was looking up and down at you in the beginning, right? Like that. Because she was surprised when you first approached her. She remembers the looks. When she's looking down, she's not looking at your face. She's looking down at your shoes to see if you have money. She's looking upwards to see if you got muscles. She's looking downwards at your accessories. She's looking at your ethnicity. She's looking back down at your height. She's looking lastly at your face. She's scoring points. She remembers. Oh yeah, I remember Mike. So she gives a score like that. Does that make sense? But then she starts looking at your social skills, social calibrations, emotional control, and your game. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you keep making statements, she gets a short answer. Then you ask a question. Short answer. Statements. Short answer. Other dating coaches are doing that. The reason why they're doing that is because they don't have social skills and because of autism. That's why they can't do multiple steps. Mr. M over here have done enough drills where he can do it. Not perfectly, but if you do it for 21 days, the social skills flow drill, you automatically raise it to 2.5 points. Keep making statements or self-amusing in between. Then add a DHV story. Self-amusement again, another question, self-amusement, question. Then she says she has a boyfriend. Don't you get it? The entire thing was you already defeated yourself because she sees that in your DVD. Zombie cannot do multiple steps. This guy's making statements and not using a social skills flow drill. His brain does not work well for social skills. So now she's going to think, pickup artist, PUA alert. So that already, when she's playing back the disc, she's already saying, should I text him? Now she's looking at the next score, which is body language. If you square off like a pickup artist, hey, I'm squaring off. It's very intimidating. If you were like 300 pounds and 6'5", right? And you're squaring off to her, she's going to get scared with cortisol. You created a numbers game. You created an unnecessary numbers game. And now she'll remember that. You will not get high score. Maybe you're confident. So she gives you 1 point. You get it? You got 0 for the social skills. Now you got 1 point for burn into this for the body language or social calibrations, the nonverbal communications. When you look at it, in terms of communication, 55% is nonverbal, 33% is tonality, and 7% is the words. This is the foundation. And also, you got to think Elite 30 from hard case to hero is dealing with the body language. So what I'm trying to say is that 55% is nonverbal communication. Before inflation, before people's voices were affected, people felt very depressed. Their voices sound lethargic and depressed when talking with her. Does that make sense? They sound very lethargic, like they're breathing out the poverty side. So if 55% is nonverbal communication, that was what got the students like no flakes. Number 2, 38% is tonality. During the inflation of 2023, 2024, and 2025, their tonality has been affected. So when they burn down the DVD and she's looking at it, wait a minute, this guy does not have a lot of money. He has less than $2,000 in his bank account or less than 1,000. She can tell because the way you speak, you start to sound very depressed like this. Whenever you're affected by inflation, she'll hear it. All the pickup artists got flakes. Unless you're 6'2" and super good looking, you might have to spend the entire summer mass approaching. You might get laid. But for most people below 5'9", the national average, they're all going to get flaked on. So what's the last thing? 7% is the words. She doesn't remember the words, only the body language, and she's only remembering the tonality for the emotions. The thing is that it shows up into your game tactics. The more zombie you're like, using mystery method, 7% words, routines, THV stories, making statements, giving direct compliments, and talking super fast, you're actually burning that you're in the out tribe to her. When she's booting up your DVD in her brain, she's saying, wait a minute, I'm not going to text this guy back. So nope. She looks at her phone and forgets about you. So this is the essence of communication. In the past, during the pandemic, they don't even need to actually do any sort of, they don't actually need any sort of emotional tonality and elite tonality mastery, not part of elite bundle resurrections. In the past, they could just use body language and they never get flaked on. Game will get you flakes. These guys are converting less than 1% or maybe 5% of their leads. It's a huge numbers game. And some people are making 10,000 approaches and getting burnt out. It's going to be like hell if your tonality is wrong and the money can affect you. So it's better to make sure you got more than $1,000 in your bank account or $2,000. Because if you don't have more than $2,000, you're going to be in the survival mode. And when we look at the Maslow chart of human needs, food, water, shelter, sex, procreation, the toilet, temperature control, if that gets affected, you might say, well, I do have all those things. But if those things are affected, because the second category, higher up, it is the stability of income or something like that. If you don't have a stable income, you're going to be affected. So it's really important that you get this right. Mr. M, I remember that you went through elite tonality mastery. You had to go through every video 6 times. And once you got laid, you stopped doing it, right? You procrastinated. You never finished it. That's too bad. You finished the main one, but you still have one more video in the inner circle. But this whole DVD concept explains everything. How can you not get flaked on and play a numbers game? She's only going to reply if her SMV is lower than yours. So it's Pokemon Go. You have higher stats for your Pokemon, and she has a much lower stats, then she might reply. When you're competing against all the other guys on Tinder, if she takes out a DVD of the interaction and you have low SMV, for example, that's even worse. Like Indian or Asian, right? And you play it again, right? You play the DVD. Oh, Indian, 2 out of 10. Asians, 1 out of 10, or minus, it's like 0 if you're Asian washed, Wuhan washed. She decides to reply or not. Even if you had a decent game and you try to be confident, but your SMV is too low, you dress too Asian wash or Indian wash, she plays the DVD. Nope, not playing anymore. Takes it out of her mind, throws it back on the shelf, never contacts you again. You say, oh no, she's in it for the validation. Oh, why am I getting flakes? It's almost because every interaction with my students, when they get the body language right, they don't get flakes. Some dating coaches who are black or white disagree with me. They say, I tell my students what to text. But my reply is that, hey, your students are all white or they're all black, they're all high SMV tall people, right? And it's yes. Of course they can play text game because they have more value. They can text and maneuver. They have something to work with. Out of the 20 out of 35, they may not get as many points as my students when they're skill maxing because they're samurais. The samurais will swing the big game sword, but during 2025, it doesn't work. You have to spend at least 3 months just to get laid with a woman below your looks level. So it is a lot of work. Swing the samurai sword, swing, and only do 10,000 swings, and you get rejected every time. Swing. My ninja students, they have to level up every single piece of the skills. Every single piece. It's like ninjas have to learn 30 different weapons, make smoke bombs and how to escape. They have to learn potions. They have to learn all these disciplines to be able to operate without a game sword. So these guys who have a big game sword, of course, maybe for them, they can SMV it and try to text her, and they might get something after 3 months. But in most cases, they're not going to get any results. So that way, if you already are whitewashed, you increase your looks for the hairstyle, you increase your money for the way you dress, and you also increase your whitewash fashion. When she burns the DVD, she's thinking the point's already up there. So she's going to keep reading the DVD in her mind. She's, let's give this guy a chance. She's going to look at your text message rather than dismiss it. Because when she looks at, oh, low value, I don't like this movie, gone, make sense? And then she's not going to reply. So that's the thing. It's a cheat code because the ninja uniform that Mr. M boosts so many points. When you do drills and rehearsals, like a ninja, practicing, let's say you practice darts over and over, right? And it's not because you do more of it. It's more like you get corrected with the instructor, me. but you keep throwing the darts until you can hit the target over and over. When you go out there in the field as a ninja, you're able to throw the darts because you rehearsed it. Don't you get it? Deliberate practice means that in the field, you can adapt. It's like mixed martial arts. If you go out there and try to SMV with a huge numbers game, it's almost like you never train a single drill in your life. All you do out there is mass practice. You just walk into the cage and get your head kicked in every time. 10,000 approaches, 10,000 losses. It takes 21 days to develop a new habit. So this thing is that even for Mr. M, it takes a long time because he was always procrastinating, always having 3 days in between drills, always 3 days, right? You don't actually get the skills. But one day, Mr. M decided to spend every day writing down elite tonality mastery to learn the skills. And he wrote down 6 times for every video. He finished everything and he got laid right away. 2025. So it's like a Death Star. You need to have all the beams aligned together. She won't even remember you after 20 minutes. If your interaction went well, it's not like standing out in terms of being creepy. She won't remember you. So every time you go out with the same uniform, nobody knows. I'm going to share with you 3 secrets about talking with a woman. You score 35 points. She's burning the DVD to score your value and your skills. Looks out of 10, money out of 5, status out of 10, social skills, social calibrations, emotional control, and game. 2.5 points each. You get 20 out of 35, you automatically get laid. But you need points in the right areas to get a date. Since my students leveled up, they don't get flaked on or ghosting. Mr. M, what flakes? They always reply. And how you can do exactly what they're doing, so you'll know exactly why you're getting flaked on. And I know what you're probably thinking. Hey, John, if I just double down on the mystery method and RSD method, right? When you eventually get laid with 10,000 approaches, right? But I'm going to show you a great way you can skill max instead of mass approaching and get amazing results. So the first secret is to burn a DVD for your interactions. It's not about more game. As people aren't getting laid for day, and other day game coaches don't have day game laid testimonials this year. One of my students is going to propose. An Indian guy who got laid this year and he got a white girlfriend. He's going to propose. So he's planning on it. He found his life partner this year. Isn't that amazing? You think Indian guys would get a white girlfriend during this inflation? Probably not. Some other Asian guy, like a Chinese guy, he has a stripper girlfriend. She's half black and half Latina. I thought she was black, but no, she's half Latina. And really pretty. She looks better than most of the black celebrities, singers, like Megan Thee Stallion or whatever, and all those other ones. She looks better than all of them. She's 21 years old. So his girlfriend, to answer Mr. M's question right now, is 21 years old. Or I think she's 20. I can't remember. She might be 20. The big idea here is that 20 out of 35 is a subconscious scoring system that calculates by the seconds. When she's burning the DVDs every second, when she's looking at whether you do direct or hybrid opener, she's constantly burning. As long as she's in an interaction and looking, she's burning the DVD every single second. So you keep talking for 3 minutes, she's burning for 3 minutes. It's not like a fixed score. No, it's not a fixed score. In the beginning, you walk in, it's not like that. You can hunch in the middle of an Insta date and lose her. Or maybe you don't find out more things about her because you're not curious. It just keeps going. Burning, zip, 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 laser. It keeps burning. You might last 6 minutes. It's just going to keep doing this. She's going to look at the score. In the beginning, when she's looking at her laser up and down, it's like she looks up and down. She looks down your shoes. Okay, this guy's poor college student. Looks upwards at accessories. Okay, shitty watch. Back down. He's wearing jeans. Back up. He's quite big, 5'11". Look back down. She does that up and down. Looks at accessories. She looks up at the ethnicity. Oh, he's a tall Latino guy. And then finally look at the face. So for the people that are black pill, I think it's all the face. No, it's the last thing she looks at when she's burning the DVD in the beginning. In the beginning, it's like this, really quickly, before it starts burning like this. So you want to make sure that when you're burning the DVD, when she's looking up and down in the beginning, you want to get the ninja uniform and your body language corrected. If you start hunching and talking fast in the middle of the approaches, as soon as she quickly burns everything, she's going to be like, slowly burning it. You're going to lower your points just by doing this, right? You're going to lower your points. And you don't want to do that. What if she doesn't look up and down for eye contact? Sometimes that could happen. She already dismissed you because if you have no facial expressions and she doesn't look up and down at you, she doesn't care. She's already rolling her eyes like, oh, DVD burning? Nope, no DVDs. Sorry, not interested. Bye. Get lost. I have a boyfriend. Get lost. It's not even worth looking. It's The way she's scanning, then she knows if there's value. It's important your facial expressions are congruent to what you want to. If you're not congruent, you're nervous, you're hunching. When she's looking up and down, she's going to walk away. She's going to say, okay, what's the value? Walk away. Sorry, I'm busy. There's no numbers game. She'll always look at value, no matter what. It's built into her nervous system. Even if you go to the mall and you dress whitewashed, and let's say, for example, she's a teenager. She's never been approached before. She never had a date, ever. But she'll still look at you. When she gets older, she'll obviously start to look at value. Women think value nonstop. She's always thinking of the 20 out of 35. That's number one. That's female nature. 20 out of 35 is always being burnt. Number two is always emotional reasoning. That's why your tonality is very important. In the past, it did not matter before the inflation because people were not affected. They don't sound like depressed and lethargic, and they don't sound like they're going to break into tears because of the inflation. Because of that, the tonality is different. And number three is logical reasoning. She's rarely logical. The only time she's logical is when she's giving you an objection in the bedroom, or maybe she's giving you an objection, things logically for 2 seconds, and goes back into emotional reasoning. It's always relative SMV. That's why a lot of pickup artists get women below their looks level every single time. If you have the outfit, will she walk away? It's very rare, but you have to make sure you talk slower, because if you're talking fast and you're burning the DVD and she's burning it and you're like, excuse me real quick, I have a question. I was looking, oh, by the way, you talk like that, cortisol, and she will walk away. But if you talk slower and she burns it nice and slow, excuse me real quick, I have a question. It requires a little bit of training. We have to listen to your audio, your DVD. That's why Elite Access is there. People can get my feedback for 10 minutes a day. Now I can do it for 15 minutes. They listen to the DVD, right? And you talk super fast. Sometimes you can actually break a DVD when you're burning it. If you burn it too fast, you can burn it out and lose the disc. Talking too fast is not a good idea for this metaphor. What exactly is 20 out of 35? Okay, that's a good question. You're always burning 20 out of 35. So 20 out of 35, looks is out of 10, Mr. L. Your score, depending on your height, looks, everything is out of 10. That's why Asians love to muscle max, right? They think this is the fastest way to raise the looks. Money's out of 5 by the way you dress and stuff. And also, your race is out of 10. So there's a hierarchy, and this is how the hierarchy works, Mr. L. For example, the top is white. White people, white is right. But now even 63% of white people are failing, and they're single. 63%. So 63% of white people, or everyone, is single. So what's happening is that white is still number one. Number two is tall Black people that are confident and muscular. The confident, like positive stereotype Black people pre-selected by white women are usually number two. It doesn't mean a very negative stereotype Black guy with an afro, sideburns, and baggy clothing. He's not 8 out of 10. He's probably like 2 or 3. But the guy who's confident, dressed whitewashed, talks like a white man, big protector status, above 5'9" to 6'4", he's going to have 8 out of 10. Latinos used to be 7 out of 10. Middle Easterns have bad reputation. The conquering tribe in Europe, and I don't mean to generalize everyone, but I'm just talking about those few. The conquering tribe are usually considered higher SMV because women will submit to the conquering tribe, the evolutionary psychology. Latinos were 7 out of 10, but when Donald Trump's first term happened, the ICE raids happened. The current events damaged the reputation of Latinos. They become 6 out of 10, but 1 point difference, they can still get laid. When Donald Trump came back in 2024 and 2025, Latinos SMV is 5 out of 10. Now Latinos need to make up. I'm not talking about the whole general population. I'm talking about the pickup artists. Latinos needs to have more skills to compensate. But because a lot of the pickup artists are broke, they barely have $1,000 to their name. They might have less than 2,000. The emotions when they sound very depressed and lethargic and sighing when they're talking, then that's going to lower their score. So they can't make up the difference. Their game tactics they're learning from mystery method or RSD or high lay count coaches, it's just not enough points. They don't have the body language. They're very depressed. Does that make sense? And they don't have the social skills. They can't do 3 steps. They struggle. Mr. M over here is Latino, but he still got laid many times. So he's doing my way. Does that make sense? So what's number 4, Mr. L? So if Latinos are 5, right? What's number 4? You have whitewash Indians. They have a white accent. They don't dress Indian. They dress like a white guy. They wear blazers. You can't tell they're Indian. They're 4 out of 10. 3 out of 10. is short blacks. The short black man does not have the tall protector status and the pre-selected positive stereotype. They usually are into chubby white women. Stereotypically, they usually have this sort of stereotype. They're only 3 out of 10. And when you're like a 2 out of 10, it's like a negative stereotype Indian. We're talking about bad accents, double chins, pink dress shirts, tapered jeans, dark sneakers. No offense, I don't want to generalize everyone. But I'm just saying, for those who are pickup artists, and then the Asians are 1 out of 10, even if you're whitewashed with whitewash hairstyle, it doesn't matter. You're still 1 out of 10 because Asians are the lowest SMV in terms of online dating and everywhere else around the world. That's why they like to be passport bros. They go to other countries to status max. They can add points for their high status lifestyle for compared to the Colombians and other people. They can raise 1 point there for job, lifestyle too in their Instagram. They can raise their points for traveling, third world money status advantage. They also raise 1 more point for exotic advantage. That means if everyone is one race, let's say they're in Eastern Europe, right? And they're Asian, right? But they're all white, or they're in a Latin country, they're all Latinas and they're one Asian. The Asian is going to have 1 extra point of exotic advantage. So in a way that when you look at it, that's why Asians love to be passport bros, but they only have 1 out of 10 for the United States. But my students can still get laid just fine because they're skill maxing. So if there's a hierarchy, if you're Asian wash, you're 0 out of 10. If you're fresh off boat looking Chinese, 0 out of 10. Does that make sense? And then you're talking about social skills. It's like having this flow drill, this triangular flow drill that repeats, that gets her talking more. If you make statements all day, then your score will not be very high. Or you ask questions, her short answer, statements, her short answer, and then you're burning a bad D, Mr. L. Your body language is 45 degrees diagonal, so you don't put pressure on her. If you're 45 degrees, I cannot show you here. The seat's really hard to do that. But you don't put pressure on her. You still raise the attraction and it has a bit of seduction the longer she speaks to you. But it's hard holding that facial expression and body language. And then when you talk about emotional control for 2.5 points, this category, when you're burning it in her brain, this is the only category that can be minus 2.5 points or plus 2.5 points. Does that make sense? Minus 2.5 or plus 2.5. The only category that can leech points away, even if you were looks maxing, you can leech away those points. Even if you're trying to improve your game. This is why it almost seems hopeless if you're not 6'2" and mass approaching a numbers game during this inflation and now the tariff, because people are scared. And lastly, it's got a game category. Who has the best game? Because if we're looking at 2.5 points before the pandemic, we call this the fail-safe system. We'll talk more about the fail-safe system. If you're 5'9", let me look at the questions. Mr. L, right? Looks like social skills, social calibrations, emotional control and game. They're 2.5 points each, 20 out of 35. So this is a subconscious scoring system that calculates by the seconds. So when she's burning a DVD, get it? Do not hunch, because what gets burned in the patterns, even if you're good looking or tall, is get burned in the beginning. She's still there, burning. But then when you start speaking fast and you're hunching, right, with cortisol, and you're very stressful in the face, it's going to be burned. So you're going to get flaked on. Here's a DVD copy of Batman. When you burn a DVD, she'll get turned off. Daygamers focus only on the game category. You get it? Game is only 2.5 points. Looks out of 10, money out of 5, status out of 10. Social skill, social calibrations, emotional control game, 2.5 points each. It's money, status plus game. When they're burning the DVD, the women flake on them. They're interesting enough to get a reply. But when she looks at the DVD and she puts it back in her brain and then starts playing in her brain, there's not enough overall value because the tonality sounds depressed, but also their body language is squaring off and not good because they're going direct. They're giving their intentions early and they already filter out the better looking women that are above their looks level. They're playing a numbers game with women below their looks level, and most of them do not like them unless she's below their looks level. They're only getting a woman below their looks level. It's like a Pokemon Go game. Higher stats beats the lower stats as they're burning the DVD. In most cases, this is why most become duds when they start burning the DVD in her mind. The minus 2.5 points on top of their game is because of depressed side. Because when you have a bad economy, a lot of students have less than $2,000 or $1,000 to their name. They can barely pay the rent. They don't have disposable income. Money is always tied into something. When you have less than $1,000 to your name or $2,000, you're going to lose your mind and you're going to have a minus 2.5 points burned into your DVD. So every single approach you do, Flakes, in 2025, not only was there inflation from the Biden era for the last 4 years, there was also Donald Trump's tariff that just started. People did not believe Donald Trump will actually install the tariff. They always think he'll chicken out. They call it taco. Trump will chicken out. Taco. Trump will chicken out. Trump will chicken out. But he did not chicken out. He installed the tariff. Canada's paying 35%. People are going to lose their minds. When they try to speak, they cannot speak properly. They're approaching because they have alexithymia. I'm not trying to diagnose people. But you get it? The DVD is damaged. The laser is damaging the disc because they're very depressed. There's a depressed side. It's game over. No matter how hard they try, they're going to fail. Even if they say, I knew stuff before from Daygame, therefore, whatever John's teaching us different is not going to work. That's exactly what works. Because the old stuff is not useful. The game is only 2.5 points. Looks, money, stats plus game. Not even close. I'm going to talk about the fail-safe very soon at the end. The main thing to understand is that it wasn't more game or trying to vibe your SMV with your confidence. That didn't work anymore with the inflation. And now a tariff, which is minus 2.5 points, meaning if your game was perfect, which I doubt, they can't same day lay. But the inflation has neutralized all their advantages. This means to get your foot in the door, you need elite tonality mastery. So you're saying, John, you need to fix your tonality without showing cortisol to get your foot in the door. That's right. My course teaches you how to hide economic stress from cortisol, winner and loser effect. The more you lose, the more depressed you sound, being double-chinned and gaining weight for cortisol. And it signals bad genes to procreate with. So does that make sense? 55% of your communication is nonverbal. 38% is your tonality. So before, it didn't matter because there was no inflation or it wasn't that bad. So they can just use the body language and get 55%. Now they have to work on that 38%. The words don't matter. That's why game tactics like mystery method does not work. Because routines and stuff with monotone like mystery method is not enough to get you laid. That's why you're stuck. I hope that makes sense. That's why people cannot get laid with the mystery method and mass approaching like RSD style, unless they play a huge numbers game. And you're 6'2", very good looking, even if you're ethnic minority, you look like some kind of K-pop artist, then you might get laid. Luckily, you might get a couple Asians and then maybe one white girl. But you probably made close to 3,000 or 4,000 approaches. Then you might get something. But if you're shorter, it's harder. I'm going to talk about the fail-safe system. Every single minus 5'9" and below. When you're 5'8", you have to do 200 extra approaches before the inflation. If you're 5'7", that's 2 inches below 5'9", the national average. You have to do 400 extra approaches just to get like a lower score 4 out of 10 or 5 out of 10 direct. If you're 5'6", you have to do 600 more approaches. If you're 5'5", you have to do 800 more approaches. If you're 5'4", you have to do 1,000 extra approaches. But that doesn't work anymore. That was what you guys were talking about, thinking that you can just get a bunch of flaky phone numbers. The fail-safe is gone. No more fail-safe. That's why you're getting flakes. My students don't get flakes. They don't have shit tests. They don't deal with last-minute resistance. None of that exists. You're like, wow. So you're saying Daygame is a skill. You have to build a neural pathway to permanently change your habits, to raise your points, John. You're 20 out of 35, just to be able to get laid in 2025. And you need to use elite tonality mastery to hide cortisol. My system is the only one that works. One system rules them all.
If you want to learn more about those who gets flaked on, watch my Reddit video over here. It calls out the cluster B losers and why they get flaked on. The blind leading the blind, where nobody got laid in 2025 for Daygame over there.